Right, so we're on G pontoon, Golf 32, so about halfway down on the left. In terms of warps, there's 5 warps. So there's a bow line, 2 springs, actually 2 port stern lines. I just double up because that's where the predominant wind is from, and there's a starboard line as well. Before I go out, I drop the springs before we go out, and all the lines actually stay on the pontoon. But the springs I do from the pontoon, all the other lines I do from on board the boat. In terms of fenders, there's 3 fenders on the port side, which go into the starboard aft locker. And there's 3 which I spread out high up on the starboard side, and they're just to keep me away from my neighbour, and they go into the starboard cockpit locker. The widest part of the boat is in the middle, up by the shrouds, so I put all of the fenders near the shrouds. When boarding the boat, I board initially from the side, easy step aboard, and this handle is quite handy. Once aboard, I put the swim ladder down, so you can bring everything else from the stern. First thing I do when I put stern down is to take the guardrails down. There's 2 lower ones, just clip off here, and then one top one which actually goes through the rings here, so you can see the 2 rings on the ladder here where it goes through. Again, just take them off. And both sets of lines I just dangle over the side, out of the way. Next thing is to first release the bench seat. You do that, there's a rope underneath here, and this is the rope for the releasing the bench seat. I do it very simply by just putting my foot underneath, catching the rope, pull that down, push the step ladder back so it tilts. And once it's tilted, you know it's released. And then the next thing is to just use the rocker switch on the binnacle. And lower it all the way down. So there's 3 lockers along the back here. The port side locker is got cleaning things, some spare fenders, hose is in there as well. The next locker is the gas locker, which I'm sure you're familiar with. You just need to turn the main tap on. And then the other locker is for fender storage. I'd always try and put the fenders away as much as possible before I go out. But if I do have to do this whilst we're out, just be aware that when you open the locker with that lever up, it catches on the wheel and can cause some consternation, should we say. So just always flip that down out of the way if you're going to do that. What I also do generally once I've opened this locker is I tie it round just one of the spindles on the wheel. It doesn't really hinder the steering at all. What it does mean is it keeps the locker open out of the way, and you can then easily put the fenders in and out again. The other thing I do when I put the fenders away is just the end of the rope, flip it through this loop, so that you see it makes it easier to retrieve. You can just go open the lid and you can just pull them straight out. It's a lot easier than trying to delve into the depths of the locker. I use fender clips on this boat, mainly because I'm saying single-handed, and when you're single-handed they're very easy to use. Quite simply, if you take them on and off, you hook them on and off the guardrail. But bear in mind, you do that by pulling it towards you as you're going. If you pull them straight up, it won't come off the guardrail. And the reason for that is because that's how you then adjust it. You adjust it by pulling it up and down. You can easily adjust the height to wherever you want. Once you achieve the right height, you just lean it towards you and you let go and it will stay locked, and then you just clip it in there. But these are all pretty much always set up, so it's just a matter of putting it off towards you to take it on and off the guardrail. So the 3 fenders from the starboard side go into the starboard locker here, where there is also the outboard and the rife raft. I tend to put the round fender at the bottom and then the other 2 on top. That fits okay. And then the 3 fenders on the port side, as I say, go into this starboard locker here. In terms of instruments, we've got 2 compasses on these 2 binnacles. The covers just flip back, and then we have a repeater here on this side, on the port side, which is the main side for steering. We have again a repeater. We also have the auto helm control and the electric windlass control. The chart plotter is on the central station here. And again, I just take all of these covers and put them into the table locker. Opening the cabin, small key, turn anti-clockwise twice. The first time only drops the latch halfway, so twice, and then slide it all the way back. You want it all the way back, or you will hit your head on this as you're going in. And then just undo the clip on the inside. And the doors you want to flick behind these ropes, because these are the ropes you'll be using when you're sailing along. Once inside, you can turn the engine electrics on. I leave the actual leisure electrics on all the time so the bilge pump can work. So you just need to turn the engine electrics on. This is an emergency link switch that links your main power pack battery bank to the engine start battery. So if for any reason that doesn't start, you can flick that and it should give you power to start then. The engine control panel is on the port helm. Fairly standard. Press power to switch on and press start to start the engine. You'll need the engine on in order to operate the bow thruster and the windlass. So the bottom switch here is the windlass, electric windlass with chain counter. Okay. And then the top one is a bow thruster. Press those 2 buttons together to hear a beep. And that light comes on, and now it's on, and you have port, starboard. I tend to just leave it on. It will automatically switch itself off after a period of time. Okay, in regards to the main instrument panel, this is how I leave the boat. I leave the fridge unit on, leave the cabin lights on, the AC power is plugged in, and I leave the bilge pump to auto. It's a rocker switch, you can put it on switch permanently, but I just leave it on auto. So the only thing I need to do when I come on board is to put on the water pump for the water system and the nav instruments, which will put on all the instruments in the cockpit, including the chart plotter. Once you've turned on the navigation instruments, just need to tap accept on the chart plotter and you're ready to go. For the VHF, very simply again, switch on, it's tuned to channel 16, squelch is generally okay, and then I have a remote as well. So the remote for the VHF is always left plugged in here. It has got a cradle which doesn't work anymore because and there's no way of fixing it, so I just have a simple lead which plugs into the back, so you just need to unplug that, and when you finish just plug it back in. Power socket on the back, switch it on, and it will power up, and it will then connect with the main VHF. There's also, in addition, I have a handheld VHF next to it. The fridge I leave on all the time, so it's always cold enough for always some beer or wine or whatever in there. And then we have here, which is another cool box. They say it's a fridge. It's not. It's a freezer. I leave this switched off unless I'm coming on board for more than for a day. The switch is inside here. Just turn it on to the very lowest setting, so it's literally just switched on. Even if you do that, after about 12-15 hours, it will start freezing things. So it gets down to temperature quite quickly, but even on low temperature, it's a freezer. So I have drinks in here. I tend to put it on if I'm coming down for overnight, and that cools everything down for the evening. There is next to the cooker a button for the drain for the ice box. So if ever you do find that there's water or fluids or anything in there, you can just pour water in down there to drain it, and then use that to clean it out. Close the lid. You need to pull out this stopper here to allow it to close properly. When it's switched off, at the end of the day, leave the lid open. Otherwise, it gets mouldy. Fire extinguisher is on top of the galley, and there's also a fire blanket on the other side. If there is an engine fire, it has a fire suppression system, automatic, that cuts in. If not, you can use that fire extinguisher and use the hole in the front of the stairs. Pretty much all the lockers have labels on them. Starting with the port side cabin, we've got in the hanging up locker, foul weather gear, snorkeling gear, there's wetsuits in there as well. Then below that we have cleaning equipment and supplies. We have crockery in the kitchen, dustbin, bags and film, cutlery, pots and pans, hot beverages, tea and coffee, some dry goods. We've got glasses, the important things at the end there. Underneath the two seats here, in the far one, there's a heater. There's also a 12-volt electric fan which you can use. And on this one, we have all the chargers, so for things like radio, and there's another fan in there as well. The central bench seat has gloves and hats. And the most important storage, which doesn't have any label on it, is at the bottom of the steps, which is the wine. We have power sockets around the boat. There's a couple that you might not have spotted. In the front cabin, under the port bunk, there's a 240 volt and also a 12 volt socket in there. And out in the main cockpit, there's one in each of the stern lockers. One here at the bottom there, and the same on the starboard side, where if you really want, you could plug in a 12 volt electric heated blanket, which is down in one of the cabins. The cabin light controls are actually on the ceiling, so there's two on either side of the gangway. One of them does the under counter lighting, if you like, and then half of the main lights. And on the other side, one of them does the other half of the main lights, and then the remaining switch does the archway lights up there, which is what I use in the evening. And if you really want some ambience, then in this front table locker, we have the lamp, the switch here. The shore power, once you plug it back in, won't automatically come on. It needs to be switched on by logging on to a website on the internet, which I will show you now. So to switch on the electricity, once you've plugged it into the shore power, you go on to the internet and you log on to the website berthmaster.online, and this is the front page that you get. The sign in is the email, is my email address, noelcockle@hotmail.com. And the password is the name of the boat, Monocle, all in lowercase. And then once you've done that, you come to the dashboard, and as you scroll down, you come to the turn off and on section there, and you can see you can tap it to turn the power off, or in this case you'll do it to turn the power on again. We also have Webasto heating. The controller is next to the VHF. You just press the button on the top right there to switch on and off, and then there's various controls. You can control temperature, and you can control how much blowing there is. And again, just press the top right again to switch it off. The fuel filler cap is on the port side, the port quarter. Not that I think you'll need it, because I tend to fill up at the beginning of the season, and that lasts at least half of the season. And then for water, is in the forward on the port side at the front. For operating the anchor, you can use the remote at the helm, but initially you will need to come forward. One, to remove the clip that I don't have through the chain to secure it, to remove that clip, and secondly to lower it down past that metal bar on the bowsprit. I have a boat hook in the anchor locker there for that purpose. It just needs some encouragement to nudge it more to port to get that starboard flank past that pole, and then it goes down. Bringing it up again is a lot easier. Again, you have a remote at the bow here, and once it's up, stow the remote away and just clip, and that's sufficient. Okay, with regards to the sails, on the port side we've got 4 clutches. 2 are the halyards for the main and the jib. They're marked accordingly. I tighten those up before I go out. I tend to loosen them off when I come in, just to ease the strain. So when I come in, I put them on. We use an electric winch. Again, it's on the winch. Buttons next to the winch. And just put some power on. Remember, the winch will rip everything off if you keep going, but it takes quite a lot. And then the other 2 are for furling in and out the mainsail. The green and white one is your out haul, and the black one is for your in haul. And again, I just use the electric winch. As soon as there's any strain on it, you'll hear the motor start slowing down. That doesn't mean there's much strain on it. You'll see as I tighten it up how it does really quieten down. That's when you know you've got plenty of tension on. On the starboard side, we've got 5 winches. The outer 3 are for the spinnaker tack line, 2 spinnaker halyards, which I won't go into now. So the left 2 are for the Vang, and the other one is for your Genoa sheet. It's a self-tacking Genoa, so we only have the one sheet. When I'm unfurling, I release the furling line, and initially I always use the electric winch to take it out, rather than doing a lot of winching. I just take it round from there onto the electric winch, and then furl out from there. I make sure I have the clutch closed, and as soon as I'm happy that I've got as much to sail out as I need, I take it off the electric winch, put it onto the manual, and open up the clutch so I can release it if necessary. Furling line for the jib is on the port side, again by the main helm, along with the main sheet. Furling line comes from here through the outer clutch. Whenever I'm furling, I still use, well, I know you're not supposed to, I still use the electric winch, just because it makes it so much easier. I have a German main sheet system, so we have 2 main sheets on both the port and the starboard side of the boat. I don't have an electric winch for the main sheet system. They come onto these side winches here, so I use this, which is a just a winch bit, which fits into and works quite well. The locker above the instrument panel has the switch, has the audio controls if you want to play music in the cockpit. I tend to just use the Bluetooth speaker that's down here, which you can pair with. But it also has the inverter controls. So if you're not plugged into the mains, there's a 1.7 kilowatt inverter. Tend to just use it for the microwave. It does drain quite a lot when you do that. But if you just have the engine on tick over while it's doing that, it handles it fine. So to turn it on, you flick it over to inverter and then switch on the inverter remote. Whenever you finish using the microwave, I tend to always switch off straight away and switch back to shore power because the inverter itself uses quite a bit of power. For the microwave to operate, I tend to very simply choose 800 watts. It doesn't matter what power setting you put it on, it will use 800 watts. It uses about 1.5 kilowatts, irrespective of what setting you choose. So I tend to use the highest setting and just press the 800 watts, select how long you want it for and press start, and then stop to cancel if you want to change that. For the drain for the showers, both showers have electric drains. Again, you press the button and it operates. For about that long, so about 10 seconds, and you just keep pressing that repeat if needed. With regards to seacocks, I don't close the seacocks when I leave the boat. There is one which is a bit awkward to get to, which is right through a hatch on that side, which is at the bottom of the sail drive pickup. So that's for the engine pickup. Underneath here we have one which is for the toilet. They're all labelled, and I've attached wooden bungs to all of them except for the engine pickup because that might get a bit entangled. But all the others I've put bungs next to it should anything, God forbid, go wrong. There's one under the sink here. There are two under the sink in the main heads for the shower and toilet and sink drain. And then again in the forward heads, there are two in the sink under here. In case you're worried about water coming into the boat, all of the water will go to the lowest point, which is at the bottom of the mast, and is under this hatch where there's a pump, but that is all of the water that's in the boat. Well, I think I've covered most of the things that you need to know for running Monocle for the day, and I'll just leave you here with a checklist of the critical things that you need to check when leaving the boat, and I hope you've had a nice day.